FAA says that you can become a private pilot in 40 hours. They're lying. Not because the rule isn't true, but because your own brain and life won't let it happen. I'm currently in the middle of the 1,500-hour grind to the airlines. And today in this video, I'm gonna break down the actual timeline, the actual costs, and why I just spent the entire weekend pushing my body to the limit in a triathlon, just to prepare for the marathon of flight school. If you can't handle the pressure on the ground, you can't handle it at 30,000 feet. Quick note, before we get into it, there are two main training paths that you can take. Part 61 is the more flexible route. A lot of students work or go to school around flying. And then you have Part 141. Part 141 is a lot more structured. You have stage checks, a syllabus, and a lot more oversight by the FAA. However, Part 141 can reduce your hour requirements in some instances. Either path you choose, the ratings are the same, but the way there looks a little bit different. The PPL, the private pilot. This is where you learn to fly, or more importantly, where you learn how bad you are at it. Everyone walks in thinking they're gonna finish in 40 hours, and almost nobody does. It's because it's not just flying. It's learning to work the radios, learning traffic patterns, managing and navigating cross countries, all stacking on top of each other. Most people don't get it until 60 or 80 hours, and that's really the part that no one tells you. Here's the part that people completely miss. Those are flight hours, not real time. So if you're flying 3 days a week and weather cancels even a couple times, those 40 hours can add up to 4 to 6 months of real time, easy. And if you manage to get through your private pilot, next you have the instrument rating. And the instrument rating is where people either level up or quietly stall out. Now you're flying the plane without being able to see out the window, and your brain becomes the issue. You'll experience spatial distortion, or the leans. You'll feel like you're at a bank when you're in level flight. And when you're in level flight, you'll feel like you're at a bank. You have to totally ignore your survival instincts and totally trust the instruments. And that shift, it takes time. It breaks people more than they expect. Minimums under Part 61 is 40 hours, and under 141 it's 35 hours. Typically it takes people 50 to 70 hours of instrument time to actually get the rating. Although some people do it at minimums, it's quite rare. As for the timeline, typically takes another 4 to 5 months on top of your private pilot's license. And while the minimums are similar to the private pilot's license, people typically finish the instrument license a little bit faster as they're able to fly within the weather. Because the whole point of getting your instrument rating is being able to fly when you can't see outside. And then you start commercial. This is where people think that you're done, but you're not. After receiving this rating, you're still building night hours, you're still building cross-country time, and you're still practicing precision maneuvers. You're able to get paid for flying, but that doesn't mean Delta's calling you. You're looking at entry-level grind jobs. Think aerial photography, banner towing, or even taking people up to skydive. You're learning how to operate as a professional and not a student. And the minimums for the commercial rating, 250 hours under Part 61, and under Part 141, 190 hours. And it normally takes people about 250-ish hours of actual commercial flight time to get their licensing. And in real life time, that looks like another 4 to even maybe 8 months, just depending on your hustle. And this is where the reality hits. The airlines want 1,500 hours, and you're sitting there with maybe 250 hours. That's a 1,250 hour gap. There's no shortcut, no hack, no fast track. Just time in the air. And that's why most pilots become instructors. Not because they planned on teaching, but because it's the most reliable way to get hours and still get paid. And this is where you become a CFI, a CFII, or maybe even an MEI. And it's exhausting. You're teaching procedures to students that you only just mastered yourself, and they're trying to kill you. But here's the thing, this is where you get sharp. You don't get sharp in the training phase. You get sharp under constant pressure and repetition. And then, if you stick that all out, you finally get hired at a regional airline. Right seat, low seniority, first day of the real job. But there's one last step, the ATP license. Some call it the PhD of the pilot. Now the airline typically pays for the ATP license and check ride, although you typically sign a retention agreement agreeing to stay with them for a while in exchange. The training is typically 2 to 3 months of pure intensity. Jet systems, high altitude aerodynamics, emergency profiles. You go in a Cessna pilot and you come out a professional airline pilot. And how long from 0 to that first airline job? Typically 30 to 48 months. While those are both on the ends, a lot of people fall more in the middle, and 3 years is very common. And let's talk money. I found the cheapest school in my area, and it's still $72,000 if I do everything at minimums. That's just the cost to get in the door. But here's the part that no one really tells you. When you're in it, there's a lot of waiting. Waiting on weather, waiting on maintenance, waiting on the next stage to feel real. And while you're doing all of that waiting, life is still happening outside of the cockpit. And that's kind of where I am right now. Although this flight training is building to something big, I've also been working on something completely different on the ground. For me, that looked like signing up for a triathlon. Not because I needed another thing on my plate, but because I needed to prove to myself I could still push when everything hurt. It's endurance, and I wanted to test that. Without a cockpit, without an instructor, without anything external forcing me to keep going. So this weekend, we went for it. The swim is chaos. You don't ease into it, you get thrown into it. People everywhere, no rhythm, no control, and your instinct is to panic, to fight it. And that's the same mistake people make in flight training. They try to force progress before they understand what's even happening. The only thing you can really do is trust your training and trust the process. Then the bike. This is where it stretches out. No one's watching, no one's correcting you. It's just you, holding pace, questioning if you went out too hard, wondering how much is left. This is the 1,250-hour gap. This is where most people fall off, not because they can't do it, but because nothing is telling them they're getting closer. And then the run. This is where everything you didn't manage earlier shows up. Your legs are gone, your breathing's off, and now it's not about strategy anymore. It's just a decision. Do you slow down or do you keep going anyways? Because that's the whole game. Not talent, not shortcuts, just whether you can keep moving. That's why I did this. Not for the race, but because this, right here, is what the path to the airline actually feels like. Long stretches where nothing happens. Moments where your brain tells you to stop. And no guarantee at the end, except the one you create by not quitting.
Let's go! Yoo-hoo!
It's expensive, it's exhausting, and the timeline's longer than the brochures say. But if you love it enough to keep showing up through the cancellations, and when it feels like nothing's happening, it's still the best job in the sky. Or so I've been told.